Welcome to the WWH show. Today we're going to talk about a very important and significant topic, which is service. Mahatma Gandhi said the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. In this studio, we have a servant. His name is John Deadwyler. He's a second-generation native Washingtonian, 20 years of community service, program coordinator of Team Builders Academy at Prince George's Community College, and he's board member and entrepreneur. John, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Assegid.
Today we're going to talk about service. To begin our discussion, however, I would like to talk about one servant both of us know.
Yes.
Her name is Carla Blue.
Yes.
Unfortunately, on September 21st, you correct me if I'm wrong.
The 19th.
The 19th of September,
yes.
She had car accident and
Yes.
she passed away.
Yes.
And
Yes.
her service was this Tuesday. It was very colorful.
Yes.
She was a servant.
Yes.
2,000 people came
Yes.
to
Yes.
her memorial
Yes,
service.
yes. Close
Would you
to,
please,
approximately 2,000 people.
yeah, would you
attended.
please tell us a little bit background about Carla, what happened,
sure.
and how was her memorial service?
Sure.
Why that was very colorful?
First and foremost, I thank God for allowing us the opportunity to experience Carla. When you speak of service, Carla defined servant. She was her style of leadership was of servant, a servant leader, and the untimely death, based on our opinion of her transition, was devastating. But her memorial service, or what the family would like to call her celebration of life, approximately 2,000 people attended, from dignitary to family member. Everyone spoke of her uncanny ability to bring out the best in everyone, the many contributions that she made to the Prince George's County Fire and EMS Department, as well as her national contributions. And on this past Tuesday at the Mount Eden Baptist Church, we did our best to try to share with the world who Carla Denise Blue was, and the light that will continue to shine through her legacy.
You know, Carla, I wanted to celebrate her story in this program and use her life to demonstrate what service is because of many reasons. The first one is Carla came in this program last year, 2014.
Yes.
She did a good job. We talked about leadership.
Yes.
On top of that, she's a board member of Pro Leadership Global Inc.
Yes.
And she has been serving Ethiopian community for, how many years? Six years.
Exactly.
Since 2009. So she knows our community. She has been working with us. She has been advisor, board member, trainer, educator. So she served our community. So I want to really celebrate her life in this program.
Yes.
But on top of that, always, we have to use some tragic moments to learn from that lesson.
Yes.
And why I want to talk about service is because Carla had been serving until her untimely passing.
Yes.
I don't think that she has any regret because she gave every day of her life serving others. Now the lesson is, our audience, myself and you, we don't know when we're going to be called, when we're going to leave this planet.
That's right.
So are we serving every day so that when we leave, we are empty? We served and we are done. So we don't have any regret when we go.
Yes. If I could piggyback off of what you just said, the profound nature of when you said empty, ironically enough, Carla was teaching the Monday prior to the accident, and there was a statement that she made that day to the students that the question was asked, why does she do what she does, in the community and corporate, and she said that she wanted to die empty, giving of herself to God's people. And I thought that was just ironic that you would speak of being empty, because just 2 weeks ago, that was her statement. Who knew prophetically that God would call her at that time, but she gave everything she had to make sure that everyone knew and understood they had value. And I think that is the true reflection of a servant. And Carla also, her representation in the community was something that was rare, in the sense that we don't find many residents or individuals who are committed to service as Carla was. And so I think in and of itself, you're absolutely correct. We never know when we're going to be called, but it is important that we take each day and become cognizant of our responsibility to our fellow man.
Yeah, so I believe that we should make service our motto in life.
Absolutely.
The motto that we live by, we live by on each day and every day. The question then is, why should we make service a priority in our life, community, and society?
I think it's important that we make service a part of our everyday life, is because it is the great connector and equalizer between mankind. When you understand the importance of service to your fellow man, I think the problem comes in where we think of service in this very large effort. And, there was a time in our society where service simply meant that in your neighborhood, whoever was the elderly person in your neighborhood, service meant making sure that they were taken care of. And I believe that we have to return, and Carla represented this so well, that we have to model that. And if it is shown that the little things are equally as important as the larger efforts, I believe that's how we can model the importance of service and incorporate that in our daily lives.
So here is the tricky thing about service. Service doesn't require someone to have education, like degrees or particular talent. It requires you to have the attitude and the heart to serve. I like what Martin Luther King Jr. said. He said, everybody can be great because anybody can serve.
That's right.
You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve.
That's right.
You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. This is very, very key, because anybody can become a servant.
That's right.
You don't need to be intelligent, educated, and so on. Just give your heart, serve, love. And that's why it's very important people to enter into a sense of urgency, so that every day is an opportunity to serve. When I asked you to serve, to come here and talk to me about the importance of service, you volunteered. You cut off all your schedules and you came because you want to tap into it. You entered into a sense of urgency this week and you came. So every individual in this planet doesn't have any excuse to serve.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I think one of the difficulties in our society with social media and the microwave components of society, where we want everything now, the importance of serving others has become not as important. And I think the one of the special aspects of President Obama's presidency for me is that he modeled and reignited the importance of service for our fellow man. And even as the president, the committed effort of serving during the holidays and the everyday gestures that the First Family has modeled, and forgive me for mentioning this without knowing the specific statistics, but it has definitely been stated that volunteerism has increased as a result of that. And I believe that from the president to the preacher to the average person on the street, this is what we have to bring back, the importance of it. And you said something that's very important. Once someone is touched by service, that's a representation of love.
Yes.
And one of the things that's lacking in our community is love. And so that's the reason why service and being a servant leader is so important, because service is an act of love.
Exactly, and also service depends on your passion and gifting. For example, Carla Blue, she was serving as educator, she was serving as a trainer, because she has that heart to serve and to empower others. So when we serve, we should serve based on our talent and gifting. You mentioned about President Obama. He said about service like this: the best way to not feel hopeless is to get up and do something. Don't wait for good things to happen to you. If you go out and make some good things happen, you will fill the world with hope. You will fill yourself with hope. It's very powerful, because service takes away your pressure, takes away your frustrations, hopelessness, and so on. You become like important, because now you are contributing something beyond yourself. You're going out and serving. Of course, when you do that, you fulfill the rule of the universe. I mean, everything is interdependent. You cannot make yourself an island and say, okay, I just want to pursue my needs and my aspiration. Sometimes you have to stop and do something that's hopeful, do something that may contribute to your community, your society. The Ethiopian community needs so many volunteers, so many servants, and we have to use our talent and gifting to bring hope, to bring vision, dream into our society and to our community by serving.
You're absolutely correct, and I think the number one component is that we're able to, through your organization and other like-minded organizations and groups, would just create a sense of, like you said, I don't have to have a degree, but the fulfillment of, if you're in the store and you see someone short of change for their particular item and you have the ability to make up the difference, do so. Holding a door open for someone. Those types of gestures then lead to greater opportunities and great opportunities to serve. And again, it speaks to what is important in life other than to give to your fellow man.
And also, let's talk about, because service is about you giving, but also it's receiving. You receive hope, happiness, contentment as you serve.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, it's about releasing your potential, fulfilling your potential. There is no way that I could be able to achieve my height, my potential, without serving. Talk to me about that. How important service is to help people to maximize their potential.
It's paramount, simply because as it relates to even in my own life, and Carla and I, I'm blessed that she was my sister-in-law, and we shared the same commitment to mankind, and you have to do that through training and showing individuals their ability to reach their own potential. And Carla, through her professional service with the fire department, on the national fire organizations, but even as far back as prior to her professional career, she started a program with her sister called Circle of Success, where they provided mentorship and career exploration and an after-school program in the town of Fairmount Heights. So it's about starting where you are and allowing that fulfillment and that hope from those efforts grow into larger efforts. And to your very point, it's paramount that we serve, begin to show value, and little by little we begin to change the atmosphere in this world.
I like your example of your own story. I remember myself in the past 2 decades, since the early 2000s, the early 90s. My life changed for the very fact that I volunteered to establish a youth association in my hometown. I was young at that time. I didn't know what I was doing, but I determined to give, determined rather than being obsessed in benefiting myself and my immediate family. I determined that I have to serve my community, my peers.
That's right.
That journey took me to Addis Ababa University, the largest university in my country. I also served as the president of the largest university student union. I continued to serve as a political leader and then came to the United States as a business leader and as a trainer. I serve every day. I write, I serve by my writings, I serve by doing this program to empower business owners, professionals, and community leaders of Ethiopians and other audience from other cultures. So for me, service has been beneficiary to me. Even if I give my time, whatever I have, my talent to others, in return, I became a better person. I see myself back 20 years. I know who I was before I determined to serve. So serving makes you better, helps you connect with more people, people better than you. So the more you serve, the more you're going to be sharpened. The more you become a better person, you will never know who you are and what you can achieve if you don't volunteer, if you don't serve. For me, I measure where I came from. Of course, I'm not yet done.
Absolutely.
I want to die empty. I'm not ready.
That's right. That's right.
But
that's right.
The journey I came, it surprises me because I became better because I served.
To your point, I'm blessed to serve as a coordinator of a workforce development program at Prince George's Community College, and every day I have an opportunity to deposit something into several individuals. And the beauty of serving and the beauty of training is that it helps you to keep a perspective on
growing,
life.
Exactly.
You continue to grow. And a point that I wanted to make that I didn't share earlier is that when life is tough, you kind of touched on it, and I'm going through, and our family's going through a tough moment, with the loss of Carla. But because of her legacy, that's why I'm sitting here. And a part of that that I'm making a statement of is that whenever my life is tough or I consider things to be rough, I find ways to give. Because in giving, it allows me to have a certain perspective of whatever it is I was worrying about, it wasn't that bad, because I was giving to someone else whose situation is much worse than my own. And so, service allows you to have and develop a healthy perspective and appreciation for life.
Exactly.
And the life that you have, and to your point earlier, it provides the environment of hope to push forward to reach your goals and your dreams. And so I thought that was an excellent way to share the importance of service.
But the challenge is, why don't we have lots of people like Carla, for example, people who serve? What is the reason why people refrain from serving?
I think it goes back to what we have become in society. I touched on it, very lightly earlier. But when you look at, the media, when you look at the environment, everything is fast-paced. Everything is now. Everything is about me. And so when you are bombarded with these types of images, television shows, a 24-hour news cycle, and everything is just microwave, and it's about instant gratification, the essence of serving others and the slow progression of life from that perspective has been lost. And I believe that's why Carla and yourself and your organization and other like-minded individuals, we're a small group, but we're rare because we're holding on to that principle of depositing value into mankind. And that's what made Carla such a light in this world, because with all of her accomplishments, and she was a superstar in her professional career, but the beauty of Carla was that what she enjoyed the most was the fulfillment of helping that man, woman, boy, or girl, family member, friend, or someone who she just met, that aha moment when they realize, I can do this. I can go back to school. I can accomplish these goals. That was the greatest fulfillment, and that's what fueled her to do it to the best of her ability. And I believe that, again, it wasn't just that Carla or yourself or I are trainers and educators at a high level. We also understand the importance of volunteerism in shelters, making sure that food is disseminated in food deserts, and just little things. All of it equates. And there was something that was shared with me by Reverend Fontroy, one of our civil rights leaders. He stated that if everyone did a little bit, no one would have to do a lot. And I believe that's so important. If we're able to, in small, incremental methods, begin to turn the ship where people begin to understand, I can lead in my community, I can lead in my home as a big brother, as a big sister. That particular mindset will then morph into other areas of life, and thereby the community is affected in a positive way.
You said a very powerful statement, which is about immediate gratification, because people, rather than serving and rather than taking the normal route, which means first follow before you lead.
That's right.
First serve before you become popular, wealthy,
That's
recognized by people.
Right.
Think about it. Carla, 2,000 people on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
Work day, many people,
Yes.
thousands of people couldn't be able to come. She influenced it even without her presence.
That's right.
Think about it. People thought everybody who knows her through our organization, they almost cried. They say, what should we do to honor her? What should we do to continue her legacy?
Yes.
We even talked about, naming some of our programs after her name.
That would be
we were, thinking, how can we continue her legacy? Think about it. She's not here anymore. Why we do this without her presence? Because when she served, she was not looking for this kind of return.
No.
She was just doing because service is about who you are.
That's right.
You have that attitude, that
That's right.
mentality where you want to give.
That's right.
Now she's receiving. So
That's right.
immediate gratification may help you a little bit, but it doesn't help you to leave legacy. It doesn't help you to get honor, respect,
That's right.
and appreciation from people, because you have to follow the organic way, which
right.
means serve.
right.
First, give before you receive.
That's
So
right.
I challenge our audience, because I'm assuming if they are watching this program, they're already servants.
Yes.
The only thing I want to do, because I brought you here, I want to talk about someone who is a symbol of service, is
Yes.
because I want us, our audience, us, to refresh our mind again,
Yes.
to rejuvenate ourselves, to inspire ourselves one more time, and to become intentional about
Yes.
serving.
Yes.
Otherwise, I believe that they are serving, but let's intensify it. We don't know when we're going to leave this world.
That's right.
So we have to give our best every day. We don't have any control about tomorrow.
That's right.
We don't have any control about what's coming. Control. Today, for example,
That's right.
I have so many things to do. But I want to use this opportunity. I want to tap into the now,
That's
right
right.
now,
That's right.
and serve our audience by asking you quality questions so
Yes.
that you may give us your experience, insights, and
Absolutely.
stories. So my question then is, how can we differentiate a person who is servant and the rest of the people who are not servants? What are the characteristics? You can use Carla as an example to
sure.
tell us what are the characteristics of servants.
Well, we touched on it in other parts of our conversation earlier, and as we stated, with Carla, the difference is that immediately a servant has a heart for people. You have compassion. When you wake up in the morning, your perspective of what you hear on the news and how you react to it and what you do with that information speaks to the differentiator between a servant and the rest of the world. For some who may hear of a food bank needing additional items or clothing bank needing additional items may say, oh, well, that's unfortunate, someone else will give. But a compassionate person will take that opportunity to look into their closet and say, okay, I'm not using this jacket or this shirt. What in my pantry that I can stand to not have? And you gather those items, and on your way to work or wherever you're headed, you drop those items off. That, to me, is the characteristic of a servant that's different from everyone else. And I believe it's just that simple. And if you look at the example I just gave, I believe that we would challenge the audience of this show and the world that as our president, as many global leaders, look within your hands of how you can make the difference. And when you say your hands, meaning your sphere of influence, your 4-block radius, you don't have to look for a mammoth project to change the world, but the beauty of being able to change the world within your sphere of influence is paramount. And I believe those are one or two characteristics: compassion, having a heart, and then more importantly, not just having compassion and having a heart, but the will to follow through with the act of kindness. Those are the differentiators, I believe, between someone who's committed to service and those who are just bypassers in life. And Carla represented all of those characteristics: having a heart, compassion, the will, and the intestinal fortitude to see it through every day of her life. And I'm committed, as in my own life, to continue to work, but also along with our family to keep her legacy alive as it relates to service.
Yes, there are great characteristics that you mentioned about servant people. Servanthood is simple, as we discussed. It doesn't require you to have wealth or education and so on, because there are people who serve by their finance because they are rich.
That's right.
But some of us may not have finance. But we don't need to worry about that. We have something to give. It could be little as like, as you said, giving our clothes or something that we don't use, or going out and support someone, encourage someone, or call and inspire someone. Find a way, as you said, for example, you and I, we train. We go out, train managers, students, and so on.
Absolutely.
We maybe are at the higher end of it, but we didn't begin like that.
No, we didn't.
Initially, we were volunteering somewhere. We were just giving hands and doing some little things before we reached here after 20 years or and so on and so forth. So if we have some audience members who are young, they don't need to wait until they become perfect or experience it. They can start, as you say, their 4 corners, their peers, their friends. They learn from that, they grow, and then they start to serve the larger community. But service begins wherever you are. You don't need to wait.
That's right. Wherever you are, from mentoring, whatever it is that you can do, just take a moment to find out, maybe I'm good at sports. And you take your ability and you find the Boys and Girls Club or neighborhood sports club, and you're able to coach. Whatever it is that you believe you're good at or you're passionate about has value, where it can be of service to someone.
One thing I suggest, from my personal experience, maybe you may have the same experience, or if you have additional, you may add on this, or you may reinforce that. One of the characteristics that I wanted to adopt was being proactive. I don't wait until people ask me. What I would do, even when I came to ESAT, I took the initiative. I developed a proposal. Hey, you have Amharic programs, why don't we do an English program,
Sure.
bring people from other cultures who don't speak Amharic.
Yes.
We may learn from them.
That's
and
right.
also, what about Ethiopians, experts?
Exactly.
Let's use their talent and their experience, stories to share with other people who don't understand our local language. Let's
That's
use
right.
English
That's right.
language. Let's have this program. I took initiative. I convinced the leadership. I
That's
took
right.
initiative.
That's
I mean, the organizations that I established, I took the initiative. Why? Because I believe that if I wait until I become perfect, or if I wait until the time is right, if I wait until people accept my ideas, I will never achieve anything. So what I would do, I always take a proactive initiative. What do you think about that?
I think we talked about so many components or characteristics that were paramount. Let me find another adjective to state that's critical. Oftentimes, and you may have heard the saying, they said, one of the richest places on earth is the cemetery, because so many ideas and dreams were buried, with people who did not follow through, and, again, grateful for this platform to speak on a subject matter that's reflective of my sister's life. She didn't wait for anyone. She was a trailblazer in so many instances within her professional career and personal, and you're absolutely right. There will never be the perfect environment to do something good or great. If you feel good and if it's in your soul and you feel it's a good thing, excuse me, and you receive wise counsel, move, because everything will fall in place. So being proactive is critical in fulfilling that destiny of service. Absolutely.
I like you mentioned Carla's character, one of her characteristics about being proactive.
Yes.
I remember on Thursday, before she passed away, it was on Saturday. On Thursday, she was texting me to talk about one of the initiatives she want to take from Pro Leadership, which is empowering women in leadership. We didn't get a chance. That's unfortunate. So we were texting, hey, let's meet next week. Because that weekend I had a certification program. I should take exam. So I just typed her. She was just asking me, when is okay for us to talk about this initiative? So she was very proactive.
Yes.
I told her, what about early next week? She said, okay, let's catch up. But unfortunately, she passed away. But she was proactive.
Proactive, yes.
And also, you mentioned about cemeteries. The name of the person who said that is Miles Morrow. You may know him, Miles Morrow.
Miles Morrow, yes.
What a parallel thing between
right.
her and him.
That's
Remember,
right.
he died in November 2014.
That's right.
He had interview with a journalist from Kenya just a week before he died with a plane accident. He was talking in that discussion, like Carla was talking about, dying empty,
giving all. Yes.
Exactly. He was talking about him dying empty. And this person, of course, he's older than Carla. Carla is just 48. He's like 60 or something.
Yes.
Even then, he was talking about he was empty and he's done. He cannot wait to die. And he died accidentally. But the point is, these people, they knew that one day they're going to go.
That's right.
The reminder to all of us, the audience and myself and all of us is we don't know when we're going to go.
That's right.
So let's make sure that each day counts.
That's right.
And Miles said, more than the oil fields of Saudi Arabia or the gold mines of South Africa, cemeteries are the most rich place in the world.
That's
Why
right.
people die
That's
with
right.
their music,
That's
with
right.
their books,
That's
with
right.
their service,
That's
with
right.
their products.
That's right.
They die. They don't die empty, many people. Today I rushed to prepare this program quickly because I just want to remind myself and also help our audience to come into this zone of sense of urgency, to know that we have to give out our books, our services, our products now. We have to tap into it because we have to deny the graveyards from getting our dreams, our visions, our books and our musics. We have to die empty.
That's right. I think, you know, Carla and I and our family often shared, you know, a thought that how we would not let fear penetrate us from accomplishing our goals. And I think, to your point, fear plays a role in why people won't move. They have a dream, they have an idea, and I'm stating that because Carla, as well as Pro Leadership, as well as the organizations that I represent, there are resources out here to assist you. And if you move and do the research, there are organizations that can help you develop the idea, develop the prototype, develop the concept, to whereas that particular idea, as you state, will not go into the grave, and here it is, it's another deposit into the ground where it could have a fulfillment here on earth. And so I believe that being proactive, removing fear, and there is some healthy fear, but at the end of the day, not letting fear penetrate and or paralyze you, that you don't fulfill that destiny.
You know what? You're right. You know, there are lots of opportunities. Fear should not stop us from jumping to take some initiatives to serve.
Exactly.
Even at ESAT, we need volunteers. We need people to serve. You know, as a non-profit organization, we have so many financial burdens to serve our community, millions of people. We are the only independent alternative media that provides TV and radio. Think about it, 90 million people. This organization needs support, financial support, material support, and talent support. We need volunteers to support us in our events, in our programs, and so on and so forth. So there are many opportunities. So if some of our audience are wondering where they would like to serve, start with ESAT.
Yes.
We are bringing this kind of contents to inspire people to enter into a sense of urgency, to serve their communities, to empower them also what to do to become a servant. So there are many opportunities out there for people to volunteer and serve. So there is no scarcity of
programs.
demand.
There's no scarcity in programs and the need. And as you stated, you touched on something that I often, when I give presentations to different organizations, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, ESAT, Pro Leadership, there are organizations where someone else has done the heavy lifting. You know, take the time to research your product or service to see where it aligns with something that is already in place. Thereby, you can contribute to that organization, gain experience, and then should you have the opportunity or it presents itself to go on your own, you've contributed and now you are prepared to operate at a greater level, but it didn't start until you became proactive and you gave of yourself. And a friend of mine, one of my instructors, Mr. Hogan's, he often says, an opportunity creates the next opportunity. And so that in and of itself is so true. And so I would suggest that, again, as we stated, move beyond fear, be proactive, and do the research to not reinvent the wheel, and you'll be able to move at a much faster pace in reaching their goal.
That's great. You know, some people may become, you know, a little bit reactive. So organizations, schools, communities, and societies, nations should promote service.
Absolutely.
And I like you mentioned about President Obama, because he used to be a youth servant.
That's right.
Community organizer.
Community organizer, exactly.
And he's serving his country now. And he also created a program of volunteerism. And if you volunteer, for example, in certain amounts of time, you're going to get a handwritten signature from him to thank you or something like that. This is a way of incentivizing service.
That's right.
So what are some of the things, for example, schools, colleges, community organizations, and different agencies should do to promote service, to inspire, to incentivize and reward people to serve?
Sure. Well, if I can take your question and kind of redirect it as I answer it. You stated the number one thing. What is the purpose and the fulfillment of service? So we have to retrain society to understand it's not about instant gratification. It's not about self promotion. You have to become satisfied with the essence of fulfillment that you just helped somebody. That's number one. Number two, organizations need to, the heads of these organizations, and statistics prove that the Best Buys and the Chick-fil-A's and several other companies have become mammoth organizations because of the style of leadership which promotes service, volunteerism. And again, what it does is it enhances the bottom line for those particular companies, but more importantly than the bottom line, it's a culture. And that culture, if it starts at work, that culture then can move to your home, from your home to your religious body, from your religious body to that community organization. And so I believe that in making sure that I answer your question, it is a culture that has to be created, and there are statistics to prove that that type of behavior that's modeled in leadership, whether it's a church, a corporation, a community-based organization, will see far greater success than an elite environment.
I like the suggestion you have about corporate culture.
Mm-hmm.
Here is what's interesting, because servanthood is well known in charitable organizations like churches, non-profit organizations, and so on. In corporations, the culture, many of the corporate cultures, they may not promote or incentivize, reward servanthood. So many of the leaders in that kind of corporate environment, they don't serve. They rather want to command, get served, and so on. You mentioned, however, rare organizations like Chick-fil-A and so on and so forth. Organizations that are corporate, for-profit organizations, but they understood the power of servant leadership. That's why they promote it. So, but for me, I'm a leadership trainer, consultant, and so on. I don't think that if you allow your leaders to be servants in the corporate world, you won't lose. Because the more the leaders are servants, demonstrate service, the more your people, because when you become a servant leader, your preoccupation, first of all, is to serve the needs and the aspirations of your people. When you meet their needs and their aspirations, what happens? They want to come back and benefit you, serve you back, because whatever you give, it hounds you to come back to you, even in exponential, in a quadruple way, quadruple, triple, and so the most important thing for corporations to understand is that there is nothing they lose. They should create a corporate culture where servanthood is appreciated and rewarded. Leaders who are servants should be promoted. Leaders who are servants should be incentivized and rewarded.
No, you're absolutely right, and we could be here for days to discuss the culture of some companies who have adopted this mindset and how as you said, they've seen profits, just increase exponentially. But the number one thing, it increases the productivity of the staff.
Yes,
that's number one. And of course, if you increase the productivity of the staff, thereby you are producing a superior product and or service, which then the customer appreciates, and then you are increasing that residual business. And so we bring it up, and this is not a shameless plug, but Chick-fil-A has done a phenomenal job in affecting the community just by the way they conduct their business. Oftentimes people want to go into that particular location simply because of how they're made to feel when they're there. And so you find that particular culture has been adopted in other organizations. Why? Whether they cared or not about the culture, they saw how it increased the bottom line. And so at the end of the day, it is a good thing to practice. And even if your intentions weren't the greatest, once you start to operate in this capacity, then the mindset and the heart changes. And so, yeah, absolutely, the importance of a corporate culture of incentivizing service with days off, increases or what have you, it has a 360 effect on that particular business and organization.
You're right. One organization to mention in this regard is also Starbucks.
Yes,
it serves
right.
its
Yes.
employees, one of the best companies that serves its employee.
Yes.
So the most important thing is corporations to understand the benefits of establishing this kind of corporate culture. Community organizations should also create that kind of environment where they invite people to volunteer and also serve and give incentive and recognize them publicly so that other people also could be able to see that people who serve, not people who run for immediate gratifications. We need to, there are places where you need to compete. I understand. Some organizations, they have corporate culture where they induce competition. For example, if you don't publish, you perish. If you don't innovate, you are out. There are organizations that create, that kind of atmosphere. We understand. They have competition, they may have difficult challenge because of the industry and so on. But they could still insert servanthood in that kind of atmosphere too. So it's very important organizations to consciously and intentionally create that kind of corporate culture by adopting service as a core value so that their people to share that value and use it as a foundation to create that kind of corporate culture.
Agreed. And I think, no one embodied that value system than Carla, and how she modeled that in every aspect of her professional and private life, and just gave us a great example to follow in that regard. And I'm excited about the platform of Pro Leadership. I was on it. It was a direct. Carla asked me to participate in the conference that was held this past June. And I think that you have a phenomenal organization that one of the things I gathered from your opening statement was the importance of leadership and how we in this organization are committed to penetrating the atmosphere to equip great leaders for this next century. And so, in honor of Carla, I'm committed to do whatever I can in relationship with Pro Leadership to fulfill that oath that you gave at the conference that we had this past June. And it would be an honor to participate in any level to ensure that Pro Leadership and its platform is a global commodity and is known throughout the world, and is something that everyone wants to be a part of.
Thank you very much. I take your word, and I'll make sure that you involve in what we do. By the way, ESAT was one of the sponsors. ESAT recorded the video and it broadcasted it to Africa, Middle East, and also I covered it for ESAT to interview. I didn't get a chance to interview you, but I interviewed Carla, Elsa, Catherine, Tom and so on. So I interviewed 6 participants of that conference. So ESAT is committed to promote leadership within our community. That's why it sponsored that. That's why it also designed this program, because ESAT want to invest in this kind of programs that empower our community, because we have so many troubles, political troubles, social, economic, and so on. We want leaders from our community. We want to empower, and myself and our organization in ESAT, because she came here for interview, Carla, and she served our community. So we want to honor people like her, people from other who came to this program to empower our audience, and also you here today and your promise in the future. We want to bring people from other cultures to work with us, share
Yes.
their experience,
Yes.
and empower our community,
Yes.
because we want to come out of poverty. We want to have a
Yes.
system that's democratic like the United States.
That's right.
We want to establish a country which contributes towards the greatness of humanity than always begging for food.
That's
Or
right.
we don't want to have an exemplary, brutal government that
Yes.
enslaves, that is corrupt, a government that's really shameful to even mention
Yes,
it.
yes,
We
yes.
are in the 21st century,
Sure.
but they lead us using methods from the 60s, and they jail women, journalists, just because they said this policy is no good to our country. They didn't do anything violent. They didn't do anything that's violent. No. So we want to raise leaders, tomorrow's leaders who become presidents, prime ministers, parliamentarian, community leaders, religious leaders, business owners, community. So we want to raise these leaders. That's why every time, whenever we get a chance at ESAT, we bring experts,
Yes.
and we want to empower our community, because we understood that without leadership, because leadership makes or break.
That's right.
Why we as a community poor, why we run away from our country because of persecution, political persecution, because of leadership. If we get a better leader, let's say next week, I can imagine millions of Ethiopians going back
Sure,
to their
sure.
country, supporting, helping, and changing the destiny of that country. So
Yes.
we need you, we
Yes.
need as many people
Yes.
from American community
Sure.
to help us, and ESAT is ready to arrange whatever arrangements we should arrange to bring you in and volunteer and support us.
Please know that it is an honor. We live in a global society, so even though we sit here in this particular region of the United States, anyone who is, unless you're asleep, should recognize that we live and we operate in a global society. And so it's not just what's affecting me right outside my window, but connecting with you and the resources and the relationships that I represent. Tom Brown and Training Grounds being
Yes.
one, the college and aspects of that. If we come together and we're able to collectively utilize our resources and affect change, then we're all the better for it.
Exactly.
Collectively.
Exactly.
And so, absolutely, we will work to bring other like-minded Americans and individuals and groups who want to see mankind fulfill its destiny and reach its potential. And so it would be my honor, and I know that that's what my sister was doing and to the last day here, and we will continue that in her honor.
Great point, because you mentioned about a globalized world. So we cannot just satisfy ourselves because America is democratic, free, and prosperous. So we are affected. For example, if we don't alleviate, for example, poverty,
That's right.
terrorism flourishes. And when terrorism flourishes, it comes and haunts us. And we don't have a stable, peaceful, and prosperous society anywhere in the world, because what happens, this is a globalized world, what happens in one corner of this world, whether it could be environmental degradation, or whether it is terrorism, whether it is poverty or disease. Think about Ebola, think about environmental degradations,
That's right.
how that affects
right.
the rest of the world.
That's right.
So this is my hope that
Yes.
many people would have, that kind of global mentality where we support one another. So
Yes.
even if some people are Americans, and even if they are in a relatively safe, democratic, and free society, helping other people in the rest of the world, like in Africa and Ethiopia, would help the overall health of the global community.
That is, to not take anything away from what you said, I agree. And again, it would be an honor to work with you to make sure that that is fulfilled, to affect Africa, and to make sure that everyone understands that it's the human race.
Yes.
It's the human race that should lock hands and make sure that everyone has value and is respected and has the needs to make sure that they are safe and secure in the story.
John, really I enjoyed our discussion.
Yes.
We mentioned so many great things.
Yes,
we
we did.
reiterated and talked about the characteristics of servant by
Yes.
using Carla Blue as an
Yes.
exemplary servant.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate for you coming here, sharing
Thank you.
your stories. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you. It's been my pleasure. And again, we're going to lift her name up, and we could be here for days to discuss her many accomplishments, but through pro leadership, that would be one aspect that her legacy will live on. It's been my honor to be here, and I look forward to affecting change with you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care.
Dear our viewers, as you have been watching, we have been discussing about the power of service, not just for individuals, but communities and nations and societies. And this is a globalized world. So when we mention service, serve your community. If you could also serve other communities too, because this is a globalized world. But I want to challenge you before we finish this program. If you died today, how many people would come to your memorial service? How many people will come and express their grief? How many people are going to miss you? Because it's very important. You don't need to wait. You may be young. Think about Mother Teresa. When she decided to serve, she was a teenager. Are you a teenager? Are you young? Hey, it's time to start to serve, because you don't know when you're going to leave this world. And think about the legacy you leave. Even if you are not present in this world, let's say decades from now, you could be able to influence people without your presence. And Carla Blue did that. Thousands of people came to celebrate her life and determined to continue her legacy. The question to you is, your community needs you. Service is key. It benefits you. You grow. You meet great people. And at the end of the day, you die empty. You rob the graveyards from your greatness, your potential. You won't die with your potential, with your books, with your services, and your products. And today is that day to make that determination. Always remind yourself that one day you may leave this planet, and when that happens, die without regret by making yourself empty. Thank you very much for watching.